Hey yo, folks, welcome to the channel, and today we're not going to be reviewing just one set, no. We're going to be reviewing two sets, yeah! As you can see, we have Lego set number 75373, The Ambush on Mandalore, and Lego set number 75368, Paz Viszla and Moff Gideon Battle. Both sets released in 2024, both having 4 figs. However, this set has 109 pieces retailing for $20 US, and this has 289 pieces retailing for a whopping $40 US. We'll be reviewing each set separately with minifigures and all, and we'll show you a little something fun with both sets right now. Starting off with the smaller of the two sets, here we have the Ambush on Mandalore, which does consist of 3 builds, 2 small ones and 1 main build. We're going to start off with the small ones, then focus on the big one itself. And keep in mind I use the phrase big really loosely. Starting off, we do got a little turret, which is a lot similar to the one that came into the 332nd Legion pack, except for how the build is done. Because in that set, there was a bit of a pin here, and this tile was with a hole, where this tile is completely flat, and rather than use a pin, it just relies on a stud with a hole in it to hold the stud shooter. And of course, with this, as the title suggests, the stud shooter shoots. And I gotta go find that stud eventually. But focus on this. This is the crate, which this does come in the other set, but it's nice to get more of these to give the build a little more atmosphere, I suppose. Which it's nice to get more of these, I would say, because I feel like it would, I don't know, give the set a little more atmosphere. But we'll get into that later, which the build is pretty simple. There's not much to write home about. It does, of course, have the lid come off, where you can see inside there's a thermal detonator print. Which is really cool to get more of those. But anyways, let's focus on the made build itself, which there's not a whole lot I would say about it, because pretty much what you see is what you get, and there's not a whole lot special. It's just a rocky terrain facade sort of build where you can see from the sides there's just not a whole lot. You do kind of get, like, I guess a wall to show that it's nearby or within the bunker. However, if you look at the back, there's just more rockiness, as well as a little holder for this rifle piece, which it's nice to get those too, as well as a little feature which we'll look into. You do got some clips on the side, one here and one here, which we'll talk more about those clips later, but for now let's just focus on the rest of the set, which I do feel like there should have been just a little bit more detailing with the build. I mean, I get it, it's a small set, it's a $20 set that's like, oh, it's a $20 army builder type of set, but at the same time, I just feel like maybe a little more could have been done with it. Like, it could have felt more bulkier, in a good way, of course. I do feel like that even though these sets are pretty small, I feel like they just try to make the most of it. Especially when you look at the price increase of sets and you're looking at the newest $20 set, which is now $23. Yeah, they definitely gotta up the ante with some of these sets. But anyways, let's focus on this little feature right here. You can see there's like a clear tube sort of piece, and if you look on the back, you got this sort of technique where you can move this thing around, up and down, side to side, and all that. Which actually, what you can do is you can grab one of the figures, whether it be one of the Mandalorians or the Imperial Commandos. It's a little easier if it's an Imperial Commando, because as you can see, you kind of have to bend the Mandalorian, but you can have them flying. See, like, yeah, which that's actually a pretty clever feature and technique. I like that a lot. I feel like that's a good thing of the set. Like, it does actually come with a decent play feature, but at the same time, even with that feature, I still feel like the set just could have had a little more with the build. But anyways, let's actually focus on the better part of the set, the minifigures. So why don't we do that right now? Starting off with our minifigures, we're going to be looking at both of the Mandalorian minifigures at the same time, since they're pretty similar, but they are surely different. Like, one, like, you can take a look at the detailing where the armored prints on the front of the Night Owl is a lot thinner, while on the Mandalorian warrior it's a lot thicker. Another subtle thing you'll notice is their hands are different, where the Night Owl has the hands blue and the warrior has them gray. Of course, I already said the armor, because you can look at the leg and the torso printing, but also their helmets have a different print, where it's a lot, the visor sort of part is a lot thinner for the Night Owl, and the visor is a lot thicker. And you can also notice the silver gunmetal, or whatever color you want to call it, is a lot lighter on the Night Owl, where it's darker on the Warrior. One thing I would like to say is that if you look close enough at the helmets, you could see some like metal scuff marks, which I really like that detail. It's like a really clever detail to help show the wear of the armor and all that. I really like that a lot. Which, taking off the helmets, which you also notice they both got page finders, the older page finders, since this year introduced a newer mold. I wonder how that'll look on other Mandalorians, but looking at their heads, they've got the same head. And spoiler alert for our next section, the next figures have the exact same head too. But let's take a look at the back. You can see they both got gunmetal old jetpacks. Let's take the heads off so you can look at the back printing. As you can see, their back printing is almost the same, aside from the scuff marks, as well as the Night Owl has like 2 silver packs, where the Mandalorian armor has all brown packs. One thing I also forgot to mention is that they both got these sort of pistol-type weapons. I'm not sure what you call them. I do believe they were introduced in the Lego Batman line from 2006, which it's really nice to get more of those. You'd see them with Rex as well as other characters and all that, so it's nice to get more of those. But to make things short, I will say that these minifigures are really cool. I do feel like maybe they could have had a little arm printing. I mean, there's nothing I would change about it. I feel like if you really want, you could add arm printing and maybe a little face underneath, even though there would be no face to put on there aside from just random generic faces, kind of like what they do with stormtroopers. But those are not necessary per se. I would say those editions are more optional, if anything, but still, I do find it interesting how technically this is the only exclusive figure of the set, since this figure as well as the next 2 figures came in like a paper bag sort of promo or something. I'm a little confused. I think it's a regional thing, but still, I'm just going to say that all the figures in this set are exclusive for the sake of this video, and these are some really cool figures, which I think the next figures are as cool. So why don't we take a look at those right now? And for our next minifigures, we have the Imperial Commandos, which, as you could tell, these are the exact same minifigure, but they are still really cool. And it's nice to get 2 of these in the same set, especially considering that the set is pretty cheap, so you'd be able to army build and all that, which, as you can see, they got the same weapons, the same heads, which as I said in my previous segment, they're black. No detail, nothing, aside from some torso and leg printing, and you also got some back printing, as well as you got these unique jetpacks with these prints. It's nice to get these printed rather than stickers. I do believe this exact type of jetpack was introduced in I think it was the Pisana set. It was the Rise of the Skywalker set, which had the First Order Stormtroopers with the jetpack, since, you know, they fly now.
They fly now! They fly now! They fly now!
But if you take the jetpack off, you can see there's, of course, some printing on the back, which it's pretty simple, and there's not a whole lot to write home about, but still, it's nice that they got printing on their back, even if you wouldn't really notice it with your jetpack. But like the previous figures, these figures are just really cool, and it's nice to get more of these unique figures. Especially considering that the set is relatively cheap, I think it would be easy to army build, which I think it would be really easy to army build, whether you want to recreate the entire Mandalore siege scene of Season 3 and all that, or you just want to make your own army and all that. But yeah, these figures are pretty cool. And since we're doing 2 sets, normally I would go to the conclusion of the video, but I'll save that for later, and we're going to focus on the next set right now. And now we'll be taking a look at the next set, the Viszla and Moff Gideon battle, which, right off the bat, I will say one thing that they should have done, and it has nothing to do with the set itself necessarily, but I feel like a better title would have been the Mandalore Bunker Showdown, because I feel like Viszla and Moff Gideon battle doesn't entirely make sense, because maybe my memory's hazy, but I remember it being more so a Viszla Praetorian Guard showdown rather than a Moff Gideon showdown. But again, my memory could be hazy, but let's get off that topic and let's get on to the main topic itself, the set, which it's an alright set. I feel like it could be more, but we'll get to that as we go on. As you can see, the front is really nicely done. The set itself almost looks like a bit more of a refined version of the last set. You do got another one of these crates here, which if you open it up, you got a thermal detonator. It's nice to get one of those. That's pretty cool, pretty cool. You unfortunately do got some stickers here. You got these for the lights. You got some stickers right on the sides here in front of the door, which I do really like how the door is built, which we'll actually get to look at how the door works when we turn it, which why don't we do that right now? But first I will say one complaint I have is I do feel like the front should have had more space and detail. especially considering in this spot we would have one figure fighting 3 Praetorian guards. Even though this set has only 2, but we'll get to that in the minifigure segment. But now let's turn it around. Whoops. Let's try again. Whoops. Let's try again. I'm just going to crop the video so that way when I'm done talking, we're going to be looking at the back in 3, 2, 1. That way when I'm done talking, we're going to be looking at the back in 3, 2, 1. And now we're looking at the back. As you can see, it's very, very lackluster. Like, where is the back? It's like they just removed the whole back. It's kind of disturbing. Which you do see some clips on the side here, which we will get to that in the penultimate segment. You also got a clip here to clip any weapons, whether it be something you bring or one of the electro staffs, because I'm pretty sure that's one of the only 2 weapons in this set, electro staffs and a big gun. But let's not focus on the clips and all that. But let's look at this little slot right here, which is pretty small. I do feel like there could have been more in here. It's pretty lacking. Although you unfortunately got a sticker tile, which does show, I imagine, a warning of Moff Gideon's cruiser showing up, or in this case, Axe's Wolves cruiser, since he took it as his own in the series, if I recall correctly. But that's all there's really much to say about this little spot, since there's just so little. But let's look at the door and how it works out, which the front looks a lot prettier, on the back, not so much, but still, it's really nice how the door is built. It also is nice how it functions, where you pull from here, you lift it up. This little lever right here prevents it from going down, as well as this part right here, which, if you push down on this, the door can go down. Let's take a look at the front. As you can see it from the front, let's lift it up. You can see how it looks from here, and then drop it down. Back to normal, back to sealed, back to it all. One thing I will mention is that you also do got this light pole at the side, which I don't remember this being a thing, but I kind of find it annoying, especially with it being easy to flick off and all that. It's just random and annoying in my mind. But let's take a look at something else, which is the top. As you can see, the top is pretty lacking. It is kind of awkward since you do got the door right here, which I do feel like maybe they could have done a little something special with the door, with the top, so that way it looks less weird and open and all that. But with the door, I imagine it's just really hard to manage, but it is what it is, I suppose. But let's look at the other main important thing, this turret, which I'm pretty sure was never in the scene, but I could be wrong. But I guess it's nice to get another play feature, since this doesn't have a whole lot of play features aside from door and this, as well as the next feature, which we'll show in our penultimate segment, but you'd have to get another set for that. But I'm getting off track. As you can see, this is a turret which does spin around like and I just kind of spoiled the next feature. But as you can obviously tell, these are some stud shooters. This is also the seat where you'd have a minifigure sit on there, which it's nice that it's open. I do feel like it could have been a bit more closed, but at the same time, you got minifigures with big jetpacks and all that. So I guess it works out. But as you can tell, these stud shooters shoot, and let's just fire them. And I'm going to have to find those later. But one other thing to notice is that you can take this off, as you saw earlier, where you can put the studs and other accessories in this little slot, like a minifigure's hairpiece and all that. But anyways, about the set, I do feel like the set is both good and bad. I feel like the set is nicely done on the front, but on the back, it's just so lacking. I feel like we could have just had a lot more done with it, and some parts could have been done a lot better. And especially for $40, it does seem like $40 is a lot, especially for such a small set. I feel like for what you get, $30 would have been much better pricing. I feel like they could have just done a little bit more with the build to justify it. I mean, it does look nice, but it doesn't cost nice. But I will say, something that makes the set a little bit more worth it is the minifigures. Why don't we take a look at those right now? For the first of our minifigures, the set is, of course, Viszla himself, which I do think this is an alright figure, though it does look a lot similar to the one we gotten in the Mandalorian Forge. Though I do think the differences really only apply in the weapon of choice, which I do like the brick-built minigun, although it's a little bit awkward to hold because you can't really hold it from this clip, and You can only really hold it from this clip unless you were to build it uniquely. However, I do like the way it's built, as well as you also got the little trans orange piece to represent it firing. I do kind of wish there was a couple of other recolor pieces to be in red or orange just to show that it was overheating like in the scene. Or maybe he could have been given an alternative weapon like a knife and shield, because if I recall correctly, he did have those in the scene. But I do believe the main difference is in the helmet, which is on the sides, which it's alright. I do feel like we could have just got some new Mandalorian visor pieces, which could have been useful for battle packs. Like, I feel like Lego just could have bit the bullet and gave him the new piece. I mean, we had him in another set where he lacked those, and Lego could have just really did the opportunity and made a new version of him, but they just did a couple of things, and this is what we got. I mean, it's alright. It's nice that we get him again, because I'm pretty sure his value went up after the new season, but like I said, they should have just updated his helmet. I will say maybe his armor could have been a bit more bluer, because the armor does look a lot bluer in the show and all the merchandising and all that, but here it just looks like a sand blue. I do like how his like armor piece is printed and all that with the Mandalorian sigil on the side. That's really cool, even though I'm pretty sure it's the exact same from the other set. You also got the same jetpack, I think, for the other set. Which, let's take the helmet off, which there's nothing underneath, of course. I will say, even though he never shows his face in the show, I kind of wish they maybe did a little something special and had a face underneath that resembled Jon Favreau. So that way they could reuse it for a Happy Hogan minifigure, and not like that ugly one from the No Way Home set that looks nothing like him.
What the hell?
But that's just me, and I remember seeing someone, I forgot who, but they did like a 3D model of a custom Paz Viszla, and they had a Jon Favreau head for that as one of the slides. But still, I do wish they did the little thing and it gave him a Jon Favreau looking head, even if it didn't make sense in universe. But let's take the head off and take a better look at the armor and the printing, which is a lot similar to the big armor piece, albeit with a bit more detail, actually. And if you look at the back, you do, of course, got some really cool printing on the back, which it's nice to see all that, even though most of it would be covered by the jetpack and all that. So it's nice they gave him some back printing in case you want to maybe remove the jetpack and all that. Still, despite the flaws, like, I feel, despite the fact that they should have gave him some new pieces and maybe just remade the whole figure in general, I just think this is a really cool figure to the collection. It's nice that we get another chance to get Paz Viszla for anyone who missed the Mandalorian armory, but despite the flaws, I think this is a really cool figure. But not as cool as the next figure, which I'm really excited to take a look at. So why don't we do that right now, shall we? For our next minifigure, we have Moff Gideon in his Mandalorian armor, and I gotta say, this is just a really awesome minifigure. The printing, the armor, the helmet especially, it's just awesome. I love that they went above and beyond with the minifigure. The helmet is just so amazing. I wish they did this much with Paz. You also got a jetpack sort of piece similar to the Imperial Commandos with a printed piece on the back, so that's awesome. Let's take this off, where you can see he does come with a new head, this time clean of a mustache and with a bit of a lighter brown color compared to usual. And of course you got a alternate his face, which has a more angrier face and a more calm in the front. It's a lot like the old headpiece, but of course without his facial hair, and he does come with a hair piece if you want him without his helmet, which is really nice. Give this dude some glasses and we have Gustavo Fring in Mandalorian armor. But anyway, speaking of Mandalorian armor, let's actually take the head off so we can look at the back printing, which, of course, it's not a whole lot compared to Paz Viszla, but still, it's really nice that we get this printing. My only complaint with this minifigure is I feel like maybe he could have had an accessory like the Darksaber, even though it looks like a sword with a lightsaber hilt and not like the Darksaber with its Darksaber hilt. But another thing I really wish this figure had was his cape. Like, you could have had the option to switch out with his cape. Like, you could have easily put the jetpack in the bunker, the little hidden compartment, but still. Either way, I think this is just a really awesome minifigure, and I think this would be a top 10 for the Star Wars minifigures in 2024. This is just a really incredible minifigure. It just basically just about makes the set worth it. But anyways, let's take one last look at the minifigures with the last two figures, which are pretty much the same, shall we? And for our last two figures, we have the Imperial Praetorian Guards, which, aside from their weapons, they're both identical, hence why I have both of them right here. Which they do have printings on the front and the back. They do rely on regular minifigure legs, aside from the sloped robe legs, kind of like the original First Order Praetorian Guards, but that's alright. One issue I will say is that this set comes with 2 when this set should come with 3, and there is only one other set, technically 2, that has another Praetorian Guard, that being the Advent Calendar for 2024, and the other one being like a paper holly bag, which I think is a regional thing, which is kind of like the same thing with the Imperial Commando and the Night Owl, but I'm not sure how you would get those aside from getting them secondhand, which that's at this rate that's the only other way to get another Praetorian Guard, as well as maybe get another Imperial Moko. But do you really want to spend $40 for just one figure? I mean, you'd be getting a Moff Gideon figure at the same time, but I'm getting off track. But you can see their back printing, and they do have a unique molded helmet, which is just really cool. And they do got these unique weapons, which on one hand, they're pretty cool, but at the same time, I do feel like they're a bit too blocky. I feel like maybe they could have been more slimmed out, kind of like the original Praetorian Guards, which had some more really cool and really well built, even if it was simple type of builds for their weapons. But at the same time, the main thing about these weapons is that they do have like electricity and such going through, which is one of the main things of the Battle of Paz Viszla and the Praetorian Guards. Now, if you grab their helmets, you would think that there would be a black head underneath, but no, it's red, complete red. No printing, nothing. It's a surprise, isn't it? And as you might have guessed, take the other one off, another red head. Huh, interesting. But anyways, I do think these are some really cool figures of the set, although I do wish we had just one more Praetorian Guard. Either way, it's really cool. Anyways, before we take a final look at the set, let's actually take a look at something unique about both sets together. Why don't we do that, shall we? And here we have both sets together, as you can see here once again. If you've paid enough attention to both sets, you may have noticed both have clip type of pieces on the sides, which that's for a good reason, because these can connect together, obviously enough, which is pretty cool, though I do feel like the connection is a bit off, especially on the side, because you kind of got it like shifted a bit, but still, it's pretty cool that you're able to connect both sets. I'm not sure if you're able to like connect more of these with this, because if you take another look at the instructions, there is another secret of the set. As you see on the instructions, it shows one of two things. You can either get the Moff Gideon battle and the Battlepack and combine them like you've seen in the video, or you could get 2 of the Battlepack and combine both sets, which is pretty cool, and I imagine in theory you could just have this be infinite for your army build and whatnot, which is a pretty cool idea, though pretty pricey when you think about it, and you could see that the Mandalorians can indeed use that little flyer thing too. You just have to position them in a unique way, which I just realized I positioned them in the wrong way, because I had the clip attached to the back of their foot rather than the bottom. Just something weird I happened to notice, but back to the video. But either way, I think this is a really cool set, and I do really like sets that combine, like the Diagon Alley set with the Gringotts and all that. Or another set would be the Battle of the Black Gate, even though the Battle of the Black Gate wants you to buy another Black Gate. But maybe we'll get a new Black Gate with the new Lord of the Rings set, which doesn't require you to buy more Black Gates. You just have the whole Black Gate to yourself. But anyways, I'm getting off track. But anyways, let's grab the minifigures and take one last look at the set and talk about my overall thoughts. Shall we? Overall, I do think both sets are really amazing. The best thing about both sets are their minifigures, easily. However, they do got their flaws, like the builds could have been a lot better, but still. These are some really cool sets, but here comes the question. Would I recommend these sets? Of course. Now, before you go pulling out your wallets just yet, let me just say something. I would recommend this set, of course, but if you are able to get this set a lot cheaper, I would definitely recommend it. I recommend that with any other set. But I will say, if you're able to get this cheaper, kind of like how I found the 332nd Clone Trooper pack for $10. If you're able to do that and maybe even army build, that's excellent. So, and I would recommend that. Well, unless you want to get just one, which that's totally reasonable. But anyways, for this set, yes, I would recommend it, but I wouldn't spend $40 on this. No way, no how. I would recommend waiting till it's on sale for a cheaper price, because every now and then I do see on Target.com it does go for like $25 or $30. I'm not entirely sure since I didn't get this off Target myself, but if you're able to get this for a much cheaper price, I would highly recommend that over just straight up getting it. But either way, both sets are just really cool. And I think that'll do it for today's video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment all that because it helps, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one!